You can go ahead. Thank you, sir.
You ready for me? Great. Chairman Shaheen, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today about some of the key issues in election administration and election system security that you're going to be addressing this session. Again, my name is Sam Dierheimer. I'm the Director of Government Affairs from HART InterCivic. HART is one of the leading voting system manufacturers based right here in Austin, where we've been located since our inception over 100 years ago. HART began as a family-owned paper printing company, but over the last 25 years, we've grown to become one of the top 3 voting system providers in the country with customers across 20 states. But our home has always been right here in Texas. The election systems we provide are designed and manufactured in Austin, just a short 20-minute drive away from where we sit today. Through my position at HART, I've also spent the last 5 years serving on the executive committee of the Election Infrastructure Sector Coordinating Council. It's kind of a long way to say the SCC, which is a council of election technology experts that advises the Department of Homeland Security on issues of election administration and security. And my stint there included 2 terms as chair of that council. I'm also the current chair of the American Council on Election Technology, a trade association of the leading election system and service providers in the United States. Through these roles, I regularly engage with election officials, other election companies, and some of the top cybersecurity experts from across the country. My attention is focused pretty narrowly on keeping voting systems and election processes secure, and so my comments to you today are going to come from that specific perspective. Now, my company, HART InterCivic, is one of 2 election system manufacturers, along with the SNS, who you'll also hear from, approved and certified for use in the state of Texas by the Texas Secretary of State. At HART, we design and build the equipment on which votes are captured and counted. So we provide the voting devices on which voters cast their ballots, as well as the tabulation systems on which election officials count those ballots. We do not provide any other election technologies. We don't do voter registration, e-poll books, or election night reporting, any of the other functions of elections. In total, we supply the voting systems to 201 jurisdictions across Texas, including many that are represented by the districts of the members of this committee. That's 113 counties, plus some cities and smaller districts. To protect the integrity of every vote cast on a HART device, we apply a layered defense in depth approach to security that addresses the shifting gamut of potential attacks and vulnerabilities in both the technology and the human-controlled processes of voting. By implementing multiple layers of security controls of different kinds, we maximize defenses and reduce gaps between those defenses. By applying this defense in depth approach to each aspect of election preparedness, that's people, processes, procedures, and technology, we're able to build a strong security framework with multiple independent and redundant layers of protection and readiness. Now, importantly, no HART device is capable of connecting to the internet. Now, this does not mean that Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or any other signal, any other form of signal, is merely disconnected in our devices. It means the devices are literally incapable of creating those connections because the software and hardware necessary to make the connections are not present in our products. While other election-related devices are connected to the internet by their nature, such as e-poll books or election night reporting systems, the voting machines that you use at your polling station and the election management and tabulation systems used by local election officials to count those ballots are not connected. They are intentionally air-gapped from any device that is capable of connecting to the internet. And though the responsibility for the physical storage and conservation of election equipment rests with the local election offices once delivered, at HART we know our role in safeguarding those devices continues. HART routinely provides services and education to our customers to improve security practices even after the final delivery of our products. Further, we maintain regular communication with our customers across the state through monthly webinars, through newsletters, through user groups, and in-person meetings where we discuss the key issues impacting election administration with our customers. For HART, the sale of an election system isn't the conclusion of a deal, it's the opening of a long relationship built hopefully on trust and support. We know the better informed and educated we keep our customers, the smoother and more secure their elections are going to be. So that close relationship we maintain with our customers is going to be key as we move forward this year and into 2026 and beyond. The federal government has signaled a pretty significant shift away from direct engagement in election infrastructure. So the local election officials are kind of unlikely to continue to receive that breadth of election security tools, best practices, cyber resilience reviews, and disaster preparedness exercises previously provided by DHS and the EISAC that were provided through the designation of elections as American critical infrastructure. It will be left to the counties and to the state to fill any gaps in coverage and keep election officials apprised of the latest best practices in cyber and physical security. So when our local election officials or the Secretary of State come to you for support and funding to cover cybersecurity trainings, poll worker recruitment and trainings, and new modern voting technology, know that they are no longer receiving assistance on these essential services and technologies from other sources. The more we can do to keep Texas election officials ahead of the curve on security, the more secure our elections are going to be. Finally, I'd like to conclude my brief remarks today with a focus on a specific area of election administration, in which I think you're likely to see several bills this session, and that's pre- and post-election testing and audits. Every election, Texas clerks and election administrators perform a series of tests on their voting devices both before and after each election, such as acceptance testing, logic and accuracy testing, hash validation testing, and post-election audits to ensure that the process was fair and accurate. These public tests have become increasingly important to maintain the public's sense of integrity in their election systems. We kind of used to say that an election official's job was to accurately count the votes and determine the winner of an election. But over the past decade, we now know it is equally important to give election officials access to the data and to the tools they need to verify that determination to the voting public. Robust audits are one of the best tools an election official has to prove the validity of the elections they oversee. I encourage every member of the committee to personally attend these pre-election tests and post-election audits in your home counties, and encourage the members of the public to join you. These events offer a transparent view into the mechanics and operations of your local election systems. This session, several bills are expected to come before you that will strengthen, streamline, and standardize some of the audits performed across the state. And I encourage you to give these common sense and nonpartisan policies the attention they deserve. As an election system manufacturer, Hart strongly supports better auditing. And to be clear, that's auditing of the very systems my company provides, because we know it will help our customers run accurate and, importantly, verifiable elections that will engage the public's trust. Texas has a long and proud history of conducting the most transparent elections in the nation. This session, you're going to have the opportunity to maintain Texas's position as an innovative leader in election policy and security. So I thank you for allowing me a brief opening comments here, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Vice Chair Busey.
Yes, can you just quickly, you use term air gap, will you just walk us through what that means and why it's important and how it protects our ballots?
So it means that the election system, the voting devices you cast your ballot, as well as the tabulation systems that the election officials use to count ballots, are completely disconnected from the internet and disconnected from any other system that might be connected to the internet. So there's that air gap that they are not connected to anything that is connected to the internet. So if you're going to engage on those devices, you have to be physically present in front of them.
So there's no way for someone to use the internet to come in and hack these systems?
There is no way.
No way whatsoever.
They do not have the
Because I hear a lot of people come in this committee and tell me that's happening all the time across the state.
They might be confused with some of the other devices that are used in an election, because some other, as I said, like e-poll books by their very nature are connected to the internet.
Sure.
But the tabulation system is disconnected from the e-poll books and disconnected from any other system that could connect.
So there's no way to hack it digitally?
There is no way to hack in digitally.
Thanks, sir.
Representative Tess?
Sorry about that. If you could you explain what the tabulators do?
Yeah, very simply, they count the ballots.
Okay.
So the ballots are taken in at the polling sites, where you generally are going to put them into a scanner and get an early unofficial result. But those ballots are transported to a central counting location, and that is where the official count of the election occurs.
How long has it been that your tabulators have had zero connection to the internet?
As long as I've been at the company, and quite a bit longer than that.
How long is that?
I've been at the company for 6 years, but I can tell you that even long before I got there, that was also the case. We have never offered any kind of
So
remote.
three of the largest voting manufacturing companies, Electronic Systems Software and Dominion Voting Systems and Hart InterCivics, have acknowledged that they all put modems in their tabulators and scanners.
No, sir, I'm sorry, that is incorrect. We have
Well,
never put a modem
so-
in our tabulators.
This isn't true then from NBC News?
That is not
They
true.
are,
I
they
can
are
only
conservative hacks, I know they are, but this is January 10th, 2020.
Yes, sir.
That's not true?
I can only speak for my own company, but we have never put a modem.
So you
in
never
anywhere.
said that to NBC News?
I certainly did not.
Okay,
Sir.
just, all right, cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Representative Swanson?
Thank you, Chairman. We appreciate you being here.
Of course.
And I love being back on here, my 5th term on here. Several things. I do want to verify that we have followed over the years when your machines did get certified in Texas and Dominion's did not. They failed twice. And so we pulled the paperwork and found out that, among other things that failed Dominion, was that their machines could be connected to the internet. And apparently they came in and said, well, the elections officials can build a wall of protection like any of them would know how to do that. I wouldn't know how to do that. So I do feel like we've always gotten the same feedback that yours and ES&S cannot be connected to the internet other than, like you say, e-poll books, things like that. Another thing I do commend you on is that on Hart InterCivic machines, you never, there's not an ability to count a ballot twice. It's impossible, correct?
That is correct.
Right, okay. Can you tell us about, have your machines ever been hacked in, I know they can't be over the internet, but have they been hacked in person? And also, when you do these logic and accuracy tests and you come back and you check them afterwards, are you coming up with, in some counties, where somebody has messed with them? Because, I mean, obviously you guys can't be watching every single machine you've ever sold. So I'm interested to know what you're finding when counties are doing their logic and accuracy test afterwards.
Yeah, so I'll start with you asked a couple questions in there. I'm going to try to get to all of them. I can only speak to my own company. We have never offered any kind of remote access into our devices. I can't speak for other companies, but I can tell you that that has never been a feature in a Hart voting system. I am unaware of any in-person hack that has ever occurred. We put great effort and great thought into the physical security as well as the cyber security of these devices. Again, we apply a defense in-depth approach so that if any given layer of security fails, there are multiple additional layers. And so we have not only do we do internal testing, we do external testing on these. In fact, myself and my partner from ES&S can also attended. We've done events where we've gone to white hat hackers or ethical researchers and given them devices and given them access for days to say, see what you can get. They could not get into the devices. And they were they were soldering things onto these devices. They were taking them apart. They were hooking up electronics that I can't explain to you to try to gain access into the operating system of the devices, and they could not get it in 2 days of unfettered and open access where they were allowed to use any tools that they could. You can kind of imagine in a real setting, in an election office or in a poll site, if someone is breaking out a soldering tool, poll workers are going to notice that. That's not going to, if they're breaking out hair dryers to get past the tamper-evident seals, if they're injecting serums in to try to get past the layers of security, it's simply not feasible that that's going to be done without being noticeable. I wouldn't say, any electronic device, given enough time and effort, could potentially be hacked, but we build layer upon layer of security to prevent the opportunity that that could ever happen.
Your logic and accuracy tests county by county, how are those turning out?
Well, for ours, pretty well, I think. I have heard that there are some difficulties, and I believe there's going to be a bill that's coming before you to kind of standardize some of the procedures around performing the logic and accuracy test. I think that would be very good for the state and would not only make sure that each county itself is performing a solid and verifiable logic and accuracy test, but making sure that it's standard across the entire state. So that's something I strongly urge you to give attention to this session.
Okay, that sounds good. But you haven't had times when a county's come back and said, "Oh my goodness, something's wrong with this machine. It's been giving, for every voter, it's giving 5 votes to this candidate and half a vote to that other one." Like, are you finding that anybody's messed with your algorithms or whatever's the proper term, in your machines?
No, we are not finding that. Look, any individual device may need something like recalibration. But that's the purpose of logic and accuracy tests, to make sure that the devices are functioning as they are intended to. And if anything is not operating as it should, you discover it during the logic and accuracy test, you pull that machine aside, you do a further investigation and see where the problem is, fix it, or hold it separate.
But if you came back afterwards, did you ever find like, oh my, like this is horrible, this machine's been out there for 2 weeks and we don't really know what's accurate?
No, we have not found that, and I think if that had happened, you all would know about it. The Secretary of State would be on top of it, and there would be full investigations, not only by the Secretary of State, but the Attorney General's office as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Thank you so very much. It was very helpful.
Thank you.
The chair calls Christopher Velashan from ES&S.